Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Agiloft. I'm Colin Earle, the company CEO and founder, and today we're going to show you the transformation of Enterprise Wizard into Agiloft. Agiloft represents agile business software and is a response to the needs of our growing customer base. In this presentation, we're going to show how you will benefit from this major new release. Now I'd like to introduce you to Craig. He's one of our most experienced implementers and has been responsible for projects ranging from 4 to over 400 staff seats. Part of what you'll see today is based on his input into the design of Agiloft, and no one has a deeper understanding of the product. Jeff and I will be online during the presentation, and we invite you to post questions and comments via the chat window. Craig, would you continue with the presentation, please?
Thank you for attending our webinar today. We hold these webinars to let our customers and prospects know about the new functionality and enhancements in each release. Normally, I give a brief overview of all of the major enhancements and then show examples. Because there are so many worth mentioning in this release, we've split them into two separate lists. The overview for Part 2 will follow the examples for Part 1. We're going to move fairly quickly, so please ask any questions in the chat or wait until the end. First, we have quite a few changes to the user experience. You'll notice many of these immediately after the upgrade. Others are found as options in various menus. We will discuss these in more detail next. For other enhancements, we also have a new customizable action bar, the ability to export configuration changes from one project and import them directly into another, Logmein rescue integration for service desk systems, Skype integration, Salesforce integration, auto-update calculation fields, and the ability to copy-paste images into HTML text fields. Now, the GUI enhancements are best shown off live in the system, so I'm going to switch over to my browser for these. First, we are very excited about our new company name and branding. Here's our new logo and our default look and feel scheme, with a new icon set that will be made available for reference for anyone who wants to use it. For the specific enhancements, starting in the left pane, you now have control over how you want a table icon to appear when not selected. You may use the standard full color icon, a monochrome version of that icon, or a third icon, and we are using a plain dot here, although you may change that if you want. Moving on to the table view, we've added an optional icon column that can be set similar to the row coloring. Here I've based the icon on the type of issue for the support case, and this is another way of making the rows stand out so it's easy to find the records you're looking for. Sorted columns are now highlighted, and rows change color when moused over. Both of these can be configured in the look and feel scheme itself. Within a record, there's a new pop-out option in the upper right, which moves the current record to a new window and returns the main screen to the table view. So here I am in a new tab, and then my main screen has gone back to the table view. While I have this record open, notice that the navigation buttons have changed location and shape. The common area is now also below the tabs and separated from the tab-based data by a horizontal line. The common area still has its own control in the look and feel scheme if you want to make it more distinctive. Back in the table view, notice that saved searches are accessible directly from the action bar without having to go to the quick search bar. Also of note is that the Select All button for a table now brings up a pop-up to select either all records or just the records on the current page. Now let's go back to our slides. Another enhancement related to the user experience is customization controls for the table action bar. Admins can now configure different action bars to be used by different teams of users. Embedded tables and records now also let you select the action bar that should be displayed for that field. This customization also allows adding action buttons into the bar so that custom actions can be triggered on multiple records at once. And of course, permissions are still applied, so users will not see any actions they do not have permission to perform. Again, let's show a quick example. I'm going to set up the support case. Notice the action bar now has its own tab, so I click on action bar. I'm going to create a new one, drag over the new window, call it Tier 1. it starts off empty, so I'm just going to add a couple things. We'll add new and mass edit. Then I'll switch over to the custom actions and add escalate. Now I could add a separator, which creates a spacing on the menu, but this is simple enough, I don't need it. I am going to create a new menu item, however. This new menu item creates a drop-down area where I can place other actions. I'm just going to call that actions, and then I can drag escalate and mass edit down into my new drop-down area. Click next, and we'll apply this to everyone. Click finish, and then finish on the table. And now back in my table view, you can see here's the new action bar. We have new, and then our actions drop down with escalate and mass edit. And that's how easy it is to create a new action bar. Back in our slides, our implementation staff is very excited about this next enhancement. This is not part of the user experience, but it makes life substantially better for an admin. Configuration changes in setup may now be exported as an entity set and stored or imported into another project. This lets an admin choose tables, fields, searches, rules, individual actions, views, choice lists, color schemes, groups, teams, and extra needed files. All of these may be included in the export set and then moved over to another system. The export can either be saved as a zipped file and imported into a project later on, or pushed immediately to another project on the same server. Again, I have a quick example. This one takes a minute to run, so I'm going to start it first and then explain what I'm doing. So I'm just going to export this, and I'm going to export it to this project and say start. Now what I'm doing is here in the Agiloft project I have our new logo and color scheme, but over here this is still using our old standard Enterprise Wizard logo and color scheme. Now here I am looking at the staff schemes for this, and notice there's no Agiloft standard scheme here. I'm just using the light blue that we normally use for Enterprise Wizard. So what I've done in the Agiloft project under Setup Sync, I've created a new entity set, and I called it Webinar Export. This entity set lets me define what I want to include. I've included some tables here, so any modifications to these tables or choice lists. Here I've included these color schemes, and here's the Agiloft standard you can see. And I could have put in other information about groups, teams, or attached files. Now to export that, I simply select the entity set I want, and then click Export. And in the pop-up window, I can either use a file, which will create a zipped file I can save and then move to somewhere else or send it to someone, or I can push it directly to another project on the same server. In this case, I pushed it to my Enterprise Wizard webinar sample project. Once the transfer is complete, you get a confirmation window like this. So I'm just going to close this window now and switch back to our other project. Notice the last one now is green help desk. I'm going to basically refresh my screen, and now you can see the bottom one is Agiloft standard. So there's the new look and feel scheme that's been pushed across, and I can now edit this and apply it to anyone I want. Back on our slides, one of the special new integrations we have is with Logmein Rescue. Logmein Rescue allows remote control of any machine by having the user enter a PIN number at the Logmein website. Our integration lets support staff start a rescue session from within a ticket with a single click. This logs the user into the technician console from within the ticket and generates a new PIN. Once the session is complete, the session information and chat log are stored in the system and linked back to the support ticket. Again, I have an example here. We have a project that's been set up to work with Logmein Rescue. I've put a button here on the table view for Generate PIN. I've also added it to our customized drop-down on the new action bar. And here's an example of a separator, by the way, in the action bar, just creating some space here. So I'm just going to click the Generate PIN button for this first record, and it brings up a pop-up with the PIN number. So Jeff, go to Logmein123 and put in 977758, and that will download the client on Jeff's side. Now I'm actually already logged into the technician console over here, and so I can see what sessions are going on, and I can see here now Jeff is now connecting and now he's waiting. So I can start this session with Jeff. And once the session is started, I have the chat log over on the left. I can launch a remote control session or desktop viewing. I can send him files, reboot his system, or run any other scripts that I need. This gives me full control over his system, but it does download a client that he has to give me access to. So now I'll start the remote control session. Jeff gives me access, and then I can say, "Hello, customer," in my chat window. You can see it there show up on Jeff's, and as Jeff, I could reply, and then we can have our chat session. I can do whatever support is needed on his computer, and once we finish, I just click End Session. That closes it, and then back in the back in your project, all the chat log and any other information about the session is stored on a special table called Logmein Rescue Sessions. So you can reference them there or link them to a support ticket or a user if you need. Now back in our slides, another of our special integrations is with Skype. This records inbound and outbound Skype calls and allows you to easily identify existing or new customers when they call. Again, I have a quick example set up with Jeff. Now I've pre-prepared our Agiloft project by creating a user record with Jeff's Skype identification in it. So I'm just going to pull over my Skype here, and I'm going to place a call to Jeff. And when I do that, I get a new record that pops up showing me Jeff's employee record with his Skype login here. Now if this was an incoming call from someone who was unknown, or if I was placing a call to someone I didn't have information in the system yet, it would pop up a blank user record for me to fill in instead of the Jeff's employee record as we see. Once the call is complete, so I'm going to hang up on Jeff here. Once the call is complete, the voice transcription, actually the entire voice call, is stored under the All Communications table under a subtable called Voice Calls. It shows who placed the call, which staff user was logged in, who the call was placed to, and then it has the actual voice recording from Skype. And that's the Skype integration. Now, our third showcase integration is an application of our external systems adapter. This is an exportable entity set pre-configured for a standard Salesforce configuration. So this is basically pre-set up to allow you to talk with Salesforce. And again, I have an example here. Here you can see our contacts table, and our contacts here are being synchronized with our Salesforce project that we're logged into. And here I'm just going to edit the contact information for Ned Flanders here. Go. So I'm just going to edit this contact record, and we're going to change Ned Flanders here. We're going to change this to Homer Simpson. And I just save this. So now I've updated our contact record. And then back in our Agiloft project, you can see the top contact here is Ned Flanders. And now I'm going to force a synchronization with Salesforce. This could be run automatically as a background process. It could also run as a timed process. But for the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to force it to run immediately. You can see there it says it's successfully completed. And I'm just going to close the confirmation window, and then I can refresh my screen, and you can see the top contact is now Homer Simpson. So that's our Salesforce integration. Next, we have a new data type for auto-calculate fields. The new calculated result data type is updated with a formula just as if using an update action. What makes these fields special is that they will update while a user has a record open without a need for any other action. This one's best shown live again, so I'm going to go back to our system. I'm going to go to the products quoted table and open up a record here. You can see here the number of units, currently 100, the unit price is $5.99, and the total calculated result is $599. Now notice the total, I can't edit this at all because this is one of the calculated result data types, It updates automatically as soon as any of the fields that it is based on lose focus in the form. So I'm going to come over to the number of units, change this to 50, and as soon as I hit Tab or click outside of the field, this total is going to change. So let me just click off to the right, and notice the total updates now to the new calculation result of 299.50. So that's the new calculated result data type. We'll be making good use of this in our upcoming accounting module. The final enhancement for this section is the ability to copy and paste images into HTML-enabled text fields. Again, this is best shown off live. So I'm just going to come to the support case table. I'm going to take a quick screenshot here. Take a better screenshot. Take a quick screenshot, and I'm going to copy this to my clipboard. And then since I already have my support case open here, I'm just going to come to the Working tab and edit my solution field, and now I can just paste in that new screenshot. So I took a screenshot, put it on the clipboard, and then simply pasted it into my record. And now I can save that and then save the support case. Back to our slides. This brings us to our second set of enhancements. The first three of these are all related to charts and reports. The customized Excel or combined reports, multi-axis charts, and choice field averaging for use in reporting. For the admin, there's now an option to make record validation overridable. There are new options in action buttons to allow finer control over timing and how they navigate the user around a record. The extra navigation buttons, Finish and New and Finish and Next, can now be turned off. And there are also new options for enforcing password strength. As part of our ongoing chart and report enhancements, we've added the ability to have data placed directly into a customized Excel workbook. This lets you pre-configure an Excel workbook with extra text, links, or pivot charts and upload it as a template. The system adds the report data onto a fixed tab and provides the completed workbook as the result. Here we can see the result of a pre-configured pivot chart in an Excel report. The data from the report is placed onto the Data tab of the workbook, and then the pivot chart updates automatically. The combined reports are an extension of this, allowing the results of reports from different tables to be combined into a single Excel book with the data from each report being placed on a separate tab. This next slide shows two reporting enhancements. First to notice is that now choice fields can be averaged or included in other calculations for use in charts and summary data. This gives each choice a numerical value and then returns the choice that best matches that average. Here for our average support survey results, you can see the answers, the results we're getting back of the average, are the actual choice values. Very good, good, excellent, very good, rather than a numerical result. This also showcases our new multi-axis chart type. The first chart shows separate data sequences on a single y-axis. Each line represents a different data field as shown in the legend. The second chart is the same as the first with a new y-axis added for the count of surveys completed. For each axis, you can decide if you want it displayed as lines or bars. The new By-Passable Validation adds an option when creating a validation action. If this option is selected, then the validation pop-up box creates an extra button to save the record anyway. This provides a mid-ground between the old validation action and a basic pop-up action. For action buttons, there are two major new options. The first of these is the ability to set the actions to run before or after the record is saved. This can be very important in the timing of some action types. The other is the ability to control which tab a user is brought to if the button leaves the record open. This lets you better control how a user is navigated through a record. Here you can see this button is going to save and open the record for edit, and then staff users will be taken to the Working tab, and end users will be taken to the Details tab. Next, as a general field enhancement, along with the visibility control we have always had and the conditional requirement we introduced last year, now have conditional edit control. This lets you set restrictions on when certain groups may edit a field, such as restricting a contract manager to editing only select fields once a contract has been approved, or, as shown, restricting the admin from editing the summary on closed records. This provides an additional restriction on top of group permissions. Next, the extra navigation buttons, Finish and New and Finish and Next, may now be turned off completely for a table from the Layout tab. On the Layout, there is a new button called Buttons, where you can turn off either or both of the extra navigation buttons if you want. And finally, to improve general security, we have added the ability to enforce stronger passwords by requiring different quantities of different character types. And that concludes the new enhancements we wanted to cover. Also worth mentioning in this release are various speed improvements, support for Oracle as the backend database, embedded searches updating while the containing record is open, new options for the admins in dealing with rules, a mass enable or disable, copying a rule, running a rule on demand, and a control to prevent other rules or default values from being updated by the triggered rule. The hyperlink widget for home pages has some new options to make it more customizable. Update actions can be set to not trigger an error if the update fails for any reason. Attachments can be merged into print templates, and we have a beta for a built-in OCR on Windows machines. And that concludes our presentation. I'm going to leave this final slide up as an overview of everything covered while we answer any questions.